Welcome to my podcast. This is Isaac. I would like to take this opportunity and share an article that was written on the 12th of October 2016. And the title of the article is called Women Awesome Contribution to Society, New Era, unquote. Now, the reason why I am reading this article is to share with you how sometimes we ignore what people published or share with us in order to empower us. And before I continue, I would like to take this opportunity, read it to you and explain to you what the purpose or the significance of this article it's all about. I will quote: "The most compelling story of women who overcame adversity and rose to victory under the most pressing social, political, media, and religious circumstances. It is a story of courage and strength of character, and the most ambitious moments in history where women can show strength and resilience. Women can lead." This is a subtitle. "This is the struggle by all women around the world, fighting discrimination and faced with gender inequalities and abused by rules and regulations imposed upon them by government laws. Oppression and abuse is still prevalent in most African states where women have no stature or place in the sun. It is a story every woman must tell and experience in order to rise above challenges and adversity around all cultures and traditions. Something that must change in order to give women their right to exist and be respected as human beings in our societies. Women's strong characters." That's a subtitle. "Women deserve the same stature as men and have contributed successfully to the world, and their economic contribution should never go unrecognized, but be rewarded by both government institutions and the private corporate sectors. Applause and credit should be due to all those great women leaders who paved the way to change the attitudes and stereotype mindsets which violated all their human rights. Praise to Madonsela for the contribution she made to South Africa's dirty political games and power struggle against corruption and strife by our Sikh leaders. We need women, more women, to come forward and take the baton to pave a way for progress to take effect in our communities and organizations." The book, Empower Women, singles out many of the challenges and roles women had played and will play in the future to earn their respect and dignity in the history of mankind. Own a copy that is going to transform the future landscape of leadership in the new millennium. Only limited copies are available. More information in this topic about women is available on the website called www.mobile.cabb.co.za/empower women, unquote. So that article was written on the 12th of October 2016. And the website that I just mentioned elaborates the benefits of purchasing or owning this book. But that is not the purpose of this exercise or of this podcast. The title of this podcast or episode, it is about the plight of women in South Africa in the last 3 weeks of 2017. South Africa has been experiencing a terrible events of murderous rampage by young men abusing women and going on a killing spree as if this country is a jungle, as if this country does not have laws and regulations, as if this country does not have values, as if people in the country do not have a conscience, as if people in the communities have lost their sense of respect, their sense of value. It is in this regard that this article supports the call for all people around our communities to wake up and take a stand. But this article was written more than a year ago. Why did it have to take so long for people to have reacted to a message that would have made these events unavoidable? That is a question I'm asking. Do we really have to wait for disaster to happen before we can act upon the avoidance or avoiding a situation like this from happening? That's another question. And this question is addressed to all citizens of this country. Now, it was a call not only to respect the plight or the contribution that women in general are playing in the upbringing of children, in the development of a society, in the progress or in our livelihood as men, but instead it has been ignored. For 12 months, no one took cognizance of the fact that there was a message, an undercurrent message that was going to help us try and educate our young men, educate our young women how to grow up in an environment that is completely devoid of responsibility and human compassion. Now, this is in light, I'm making this podcast in light of the fact that in the last 3 weeks of May, there has been a spree of murders. Our young girls being murdered by their boyfriends. And nobody was doing something about it until the murder of this girl from Soweto who was killed by his boyfriend and burnt to death. And then last Friday, the Department of Justice and other NGOs and community organizations took up a stand to do something about it. Now, again, I'm saying I'm making this podcast with great respect and at the same time disturbed by these events. And social media has been very instrumental in amplifying some of these activities that are affecting our communities. And the question I'm trying to ask and find from you as a community member or as a citizen of South Africa is that how long are you going to wait for disaster to happen before you can act on avoiding these disastrous occurrences? Now, if every mother was prepared to teach 3 girls, then we would have avoided this situation. If every father was able to guide 3 boys and teach them the values of men, we wouldn't have had this situation. Now, it is upon us, parents, both men and women, to take responsibility and try and teach good values, teach good moral values where society can start to find itself. We should have had courses on how to teach our children good moral values. Find common ground with churches and communities to bring back Ubuntu back into our society, lest we forget where we came from. It is upon us to take the responsibility to manage social media for the right reasons. And the time should have been yesterday, not now. We should use poetry and music to bring back sanity to our youth, to assert responsible citizenship. Did we do that? No, we didn't do that. Did we try to mobilize and formalize organizations that will take responsibility for these proactive measures? No. Who took the responsibility to organize a mass protest to create an awareness for this? It was government. And this was the Department of Justice. Did we sit down as a community after we received our freedom in 1994 to sit down and carve a path where we would actually align our expectations with the expectation of the new dispensation or the new leadership? No, we didn't do that. Did we reflect on what this democracy meant if we did receive it, and to what extent are our responsibilities, and who is responsible for consequences if we did not take action for something that happened, that something that went bad? No, we didn't. So there is a myriad of all questions. We can list down all these questions, but we as parents, we as communities, we never sat down to determine what our expectations are about this new democracy. We just assume that democracy will take care of everything else. Now, who are we supposed to blame when these things happen? Are we supposed to blame the boys? Are we supposed to blame the girls? Did we invite the church to try and help us organize a new form of child minding or rearing of children? Are we supposed to get instructions from government on how to govern ourselves as families? No, we don't. Do we have a community, or what we call domestic principles, where we live by, that are guided by our conscience in order for us to live a more reasonable life? No, we didn't. So the question is, every time something wrong happens, we point fingers. If this article and this book was donated for free, I'll read this to you. I'll read again. This is about the plight of women. It says in this website, claim your free copy of Empower Women While Stocks Last. Not only should men and fathers protect their daughters, we should also educate and teach our sons good moral values. And then it further goes on to say, 4 copies will be given for free, and then the 6th copy will sell for R2.50. Copy number 7 will sell for R3. Copy number 8 will sell for R4. Copy number 9 will sell for R4.50, and so on. But all these 15 copies that were imported from the United States, was the 15th copy was going to sell for R15. As I'm talking to you now, these copies, not a single person responded to this call until today, and today's date is the 30th of April 2016. So in closing, I'm saying, before you can start complaining and organizing meetings about the plight of the deterioration of our society's moral, find out if your contribution towards a program that would help us avoid disasters was in place, and if anybody did support it. If not, then at least know that if something happens, don't regret about it. It is unfortunate that this call was made more than a year ago, and people are now reacting to the results of what they could have avoided before it happened. It's a pity that South Africans are always reacting on circumstances instead of acting proactively before disaster happens. Please, if you want to contribute, if you have anything to say about programs that would help us bring our communities back to sanity, you are welcome to comment at the bottom of this podcast, at the bottom of this website. There is a program called Gifted Foundation, and Gifted Foundation is a social responsibility program where we help educate our communities how to improve their lives. So if you want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem, become proactive, get involved. Do not become a liability to your society. Become an asset. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please share and enjoy. God bless you. Peace.